20 past 2 on the 22nd of November, and the visible horizon should be about 35 kilometres away, but we're not seeing quite that far because there's a dust storm forecast. Supposed to run from the Victorian border to the Queensland border, so we should be getting it. Warning on poor air quality. Supposed to have been going to hit Sydney. I don't know. I thought it might be funny if I just leave the camera and the tripod set up like this and come back every 5 minutes and see what sort of a change there is. Maybe this is as thick and musty and hazy as it's going to get. 25 past. All secure. Situation remains the same. There didn't seem to be much difference after 5 minutes, so I altered the interval to 10. All same, situation remains secure. Once again, all secure, situation remains the same. 3 p.m. I'm not seeing any great sudden change. I think the grand dust storm's a bit of a fizzer. I mean, there's dust in the air, yeah, but not that much so far as yet, kind of thing. If this dust storm hits Sydney at lunchtime, 2 hours ago sort of thing, I don't really understand why we're not seeing more of it here, unless perhaps the 24 mils of rain yesterday and the 26 mils of rain last night has wet everything down to the point that as the dusty air goes through the trees, the dust is sticking to the leaves and it's kind of sieving the dust out of the air. I don't know. Anyway, back with another instalment later on. Okay, 3:15, and it might be actually just a little bit of the darker, a bit thicker. Definitely thicker. I can sort of only just see the other side of the Emerville Road and I can't see Torrington at all. 3:30. $3:45. Not a great deal different. 4 o'clock. 1600 hours. I think this is probably as dusty as it's going to get. 4:15. Topsoil, topsoil, wherefore art thou, topsoil? Mostly washed out to sea or wind blown away. What remains is going salty or compacted underfoot. There be bugger all true topsoil hereabouts today. It's blowing in the wind. Hey. 4:30. Not the worst dust storm I've ever seen, but a dust storm nonetheless. Very definitely a lightening of the haze. Approaching the 5 p.m, 1700 hours. 5:15. And I think the soup is actually thickening somewhat. 5:30. Yeah, I think it's more difficult to pick out the west end of the ridge behind the Emerville Road than it was earlier. And if I come down there and try and open up the aperture a bit, yeah, we'll go with that. The dust storm continues. 5:45. You can really only see the ridge on the other side of the Emmaville Road if you know that it's there. Sort of kind of thing. Yeah. And the sun's off about 90 degrees perpendicular to this view. Still 15 degrees, 20 degrees above the horizon. Anyway, that's what it looks like now. 18 of the 100 hours, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Daylight Saving of the time. So it's actually only 5 o'clock. And that's 5 o'clock, 130 miles to the west of here. So it's about 10 past 5, actually, local apparent time. .30. I don't know whether it's the lower light or whether we're actually getting thicker, dirtier air, but it's, yeah, I think the air's dirtier. Dirtier than it was. Quarter to 7. Muddy, muddy, muddy air. This is what happens when you have dry soil conditions in the north end of South Australia, I think. Followed by a cold front with some strong wind onto the dry soil. This is called progress. This is European best practice agriculture. This is what you get with harvest everythingism. Instead of accepting the fact that what grows in a particular location has been genetically engineered and epigenetically fine-tuned to be the very best organism for living there, that millions of years of evolution has been able to come up with. Oh no. No, the European broadacre agriculturalists, the harvest everythingists, they like to bulldoze the existing biology, push it off to the edge of the paddock, and grow a single artificial synthetic species. Horizon to horizon, ideally. One big monoculture, easier to harvest that way, you see. And this is what it does. Puts the topsoil up in the air and blows it across the bloody countryside. Ah, what progress. Where? 7 o'clock. And the sun is a fairly diffuse ball. There we go. So there is in fact quite a lot of dust between us and the sun. 3 fingers between the sun and the horizon. So you're looking at 5 minutes per finger. Sunset in 15 minutes. according to the theory. Fruit Loop, fruitcake's daughter, fruitcake's son. So the two young uns are spending the day with Granny, effectively. Quarter past the 7. As it was foretold within the prophecy. The sun on the other side of the dust cloud has gone down below the horizon. Yeah, as the darkness gathers. Interesting thing, yesterday when it was raining, getting ready to rain, 6.5 amp hours all day from the solar panels to the batteries. Today, with all of this dust in the air, 35.3 amp hours. And I normally use kind of 22 to 25 per day. One of the remarkable things about photovoltaics, you can have a lot of shit in the air and you can still get pretty much normal output. Even if it's going to rain 25, 50 millimetres. If you have a bright rainy day, you still get some power into your batteries. Solar thermal doesn't work like that. Solar thermal, if you've got invisible haze that you can't see with the naked eye, that might shave 10% off your top temperatures on a solar thermal system. If there's actual clouds, forget it. There we go, getting on for 5 hours worth of dust storm with time compression. Couldn't have done that earlier on because there was too much light coming in from the dust. I'd say I've got 5 kilometres absolute limit of visibility here, and it's been like that for a couple of hours. When I first started, I might have been able to see perhaps 15 kilometres to the furthest hazy line on the horizon. Anyway, there you go. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Dust storm with time compression. Ciao.